What's up, breathing people? Welcome back. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Brittany, and we're talking about why men don't approach women anymore. I just wanted to offer a quick disclaimer. I am married. My wife is married. We've been married for a very long time. I was married when I was 22. She was married when she was 21. So we've been out of the dating game for a while. So everything that we're going to discuss today, all of the questions that Brittany's going to be asking and we're going to be talking about are coming from my short-lived experience in the dating world, and it's coming from perspectives gained from friends and just kind of viewing the dating pool and the dating game as it exists today. So I just want to offer that disclaimer so you know where these answers are coming from. So when you get mad at us, which I'm totally okay with, this is coming from just lived experience and just experience working with people that have to date today, which is, it's not easy. We're going to say that right off the top too. It's such an interesting way to date with all of the online dating that exists nowadays. It's such an interesting time because of the perspectives of women and men right now. So all that to say, take everything we say with a grain of salt with that disclaimer in mind. All right, here we go. Let's get into it.
Question 1. Why don't men approach women anymore in this modern dating world?
One of the things that I've been thinking over recently, and this comes from conversations that I've had with people who are already married, but just more of a relational conversation. A lot of people that desire to get in relationships or are currently in relationships struggle to know what they want from that other person. And when I say struggle to know what they want, we might actually have a list of desires or maybe a list of expectations, written or just mental, for that other person. But I don't know how much we've thought that through. And what I mean by that is I don't know if we've thought about the long-term ramifications of our desires or of our expectations. Like, does it exist for the sole purpose of pleasing our desires and meeting our expectations? Or does it go beyond that to where we're thinking about what would be best for the other person that would be best for us? Because I was talking to somebody where I was seeing them in their relationship with their husband, and it was very, not to get into details, it was very maternal.
Okay, explain what you mean.
So by that, I mean they were basically helping their spouse to the point that it was like a mother-son relationship.
Oh, okay.
Where they were doing a lot of things and making sure everything was done for their spouse. And I offered just a piece of advice to them. Who do you want your spouse to be? Do you want them to be your son? Or do you want them to be your husband? And they're like, well, my husband. Okay. How would your spouse feel being treated as your son as opposed to a husband?
Yeah.
Would they feel like a boy that lacks responsibility, that lacks agency, that lacks respect, that would be due a man? Like the things that are important to a man? Probably. They probably would lack those things because of your actions. Your actions are completely innocent and good.
Probably full of love and good intentions.
Exactly. But have we thought through the long-term ramifications of what we're instilling and building in that other person? So just to bring it back to your original question, that's a side relational piece that I think maybe is informing that first question. Can you read it again? Because we've been off it for a little bit.
Why don't men approach women anymore in this modern dating world?
Because we haven't thought through from both perspectives, from the female perspective and from the male perspective, what would be best for those relationships.
Okay.
What would be best for those interactions? We have a lot of perceptions. We have a lot of things that we believe and assume about, in this case, the female, what males are assuming about females, built up from lived experience, built up from what they see on the internet. I said that so weird. And it informs their decision-making to approach or not approach a woman. So I actually think it seems like there's a lot that goes into why men don't approach women. I think there's not enough thought that is going in that is causing men not to approach women. Like, I think if we thought these things through more, men would, through that process of thinking this through and thinking long term and thinking through how should I approach in a way that builds up that woman that I will approach to be the woman that she ultimately desires to be, and I ultimately desire her to be for me.
Right.
I know this is a very kind of roundabout, seemingly macro vision, and I'm just honestly starting to think about this recently.
Yeah.
But I really do think that we don't think enough about the other person's perspective and what they desire for themselves when we think about relationship. I think, like, because I don't think we're doing a good job in many relationships of treating that person and communicating with that person and relating to that person in the way that best serves them for what they desire to be ultimately, for what they desire, you know, that makes sense with their gender, that makes sense with their just kind of the things that are already instilled in them due to their biology. And I think if we did a better job of thinking through those things, both sides, women and men, would better be able to approach each other.
Do you think that's because there would be more clarity on the interactions right away and knowing whether this could work out and I should put effort into this or it won't?
Yeah. I think if women thought more about a man's perspective on things in general, they would be, one, more attractive to men.
Yeah.
It would be easier for men to approach them because when that approach happens, they would be able to respond from the forethought that they had done on that man's perspective coming into that approach.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You know, men could approach women in a way that takes into mind their perspective on a man approaching them. Hey, I got to be safe in this interaction. Hey, I got to really think about, you know, this is, you know, we don't do that forethought. We think about ourselves, our desires, our expectations, us. We think about us in that approach. And I think that's preventing a lot of men from approaching women because they've had a few bad interactions, they don't want to think through those things anymore in order to approach women in maybe a better way.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I believe you're right. What's hard about it is when you're in the dating game, you are thinking about yourself, which is good, but also bad in a way if you're totally not thinking about the people that you are going to potentially date.
Yeah.
So I would say you do need to know what you want. You need to know what you want, but I think it'd be helpful to know why. That way, when you go into it, you can know why are these things important to me that I'm looking for in the person that I'm going to ask or possibly date. So that hopefully you're not being totally selfish, but you do need to know what you want and why.
Sure.
And then that's going to help you navigate the relationship with clarity. And sometimes you can know, especially for people who've had bad experiences, when you get into a relationship, you do know right away sometimes, this isn't going to work out. But yeah, I guess making sure you're not cutting people off as soon as they make a mistake, because we all are going to make mistakes. So giving grace, but I guess it depends on the magnitude of the mistake and how often it's happening. Is this who this person is right now and they're unwilling to change or be different?
Yeah.
Or is this just like something that they messed up on?
Right.
And you guys can work through it. I think one of the beautiful things about relationships in general is that they are the perfect situation for you to become a better person. And not that that has to do with how men approach women, but
I think that approach, though, lacks knowledge of the other person, like a female. Like I said, I'm just starting to think about these things, but to kind of take it in a slightly different direction on the same point, I was listening to Jordan Peterson talk about marriage a while back, and he was talking about the approach of telling the truth with your wife. You should just set that as a standard. I'm going to tell the truth all the time with my wife. But it does matter how you tell the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
And that could sound just on surface level manipulative. Like, I need to think through how this truth is going to be communicated. No, I should just say it. Well, sometimes if you just say it to a person that their biology is made to look for danger, like if you're saying truth to a female who his entire day is looking for danger, entire day is looking for issues and problems and things to watch out for, which is just hardwired into every female, it's going to be too much to just cut straight to the truth.
Yeah.
That truth has now become a cudgel that you are using as a weapon against your wife or against whoever you're dating. And that in and of itself has now made that truth a lie, because it's not being communicated with its intended purpose of just delivering truth to that person. You made it into a weapon by not having the correct perspective in your communication when it's delivered to your spouse.
Right. Yeah. So the approach of how you communicate information is important.
Yeah.
So that someone doesn't put up their defensives and cut you off.
Right.
Then it doesn't matter that you said what you wanted to say, because it's not going to go anywhere, because there's either hurt or I can't talk to you about this because you scare me or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Intention matters in the communication. You can say, well, I was just speaking truth. Yeah, but you did it in a way that lacked intention. Therefore, I doubt your motives. And that's completely reasonable for the other person to doubt your motives if you didn't even take the time to think through your intention behind your communication.
Right.
So it's a that definitely was convicting to me, because there's definitely been times, even in the way that you try to fix problems that your wife or somebody you're in relationship with is bringing to you.
Yeah.
And women, that is what they do. They're constantly looking for problems, and they want to tell you about it and say, do you think this is an issue? Do you think this is an issue? What about this? What about this? What about this? Correctly, men should navigate through all of that instead of just every time it's brought up, you're going to give a solution. You're going to give a fix. You're going to give a, don't worry about this to that person. You're denying their biology to identify danger by you just cutting straight to problem solving. Maybe what you could do is give time and give space for them to bring these issues to you. You just listen. And then maybe through that, you can actually identify that singular thing that is the ultimate problem that they, through looking at all of these other things, are actually trying to pinpoint.
Right.
Maybe you could be that person that helps them pinpoint the central matter.
Yeah.
But that takes you being aware of the other person's perspective and changing your actions for that.
Yeah. What I find to be helpful for me in navigating those sorts of things, especially if I feel like I just want to kind of, let's get over this. I want to fix the person or whatever it is, which is not good because I hate it when people do that to me. But I find it helpful to ask questions, like in your example there, to help if your partner or spouse is sharing stuff with you, it's because they care about your opinion and they want your opinion. They also want you to share with them whatever it is they're struggling with. So I find it helpful sometimes to just ask questions and be like, okay, well, why, whatever it is, why do you think you feel this way? Or what is it about that made you mad? Because like you're saying, sometimes the issue is not just that issue. It's something deeper that they haven't even gotten to yet. They don't even know yet. And so just being there with them, working it through with them, asking them those questions, sometimes then they can actually solve the real issue themselves just by you kind of walking alongside them.
Yeah. One thing that Jordan Peterson also said is you don't want to deny them their sovereignty to come to the solution themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, men are so bad at that.
They want to help. They want to help.
Well, we want to help and we are wired for that.
Yeah.
So it is an easy thing to just go straight to that.
Yeah.
I think this is the problem and I think this is the solution.
And I think that is helpful. I think what gets frustrating for women is sometimes, they don't get to their own solution, or they'll try to implement that solution, but it's not really meeting the real need of the problem.
Yeah.
Which then just makes them more mad because they're like, yeah, I did that. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Because they didn't actually know what the real issue was.
Right. But you can get there with patience and with perspective. And so getting back to the original question, I think a lot of men aren't approaching women because they are absent the correct perspective on women. And like I said, this is very general. This is very macro. This is very taking in no specific accounts. Why men aren't approaching women is a general question.
Yeah.
So we're giving kind of general answers that maybe speak to a bigger reason why men aren't approaching women other than they got hurt or women are, crazy or all of these other specific reasons that there's a lot of people on the internet giving. I don't want to give those reasons because honestly, you're not in the shoes of the people experiencing this. So you giving specific answers, is it really helping? Can we take a step back? I love Jocko Willink. He always talks about, he talked about this in Extreme Ownership, about taking a step back and getting another vantage point on whatever situation you're in, especially difficult situations. A lot of times when we're in the thick of it, when we're in the dating game, where we desire relationships so badly, and we just don't seem to be able to approach women correctly or approach women successfully.
Yeah.
It might be pertinent for us to take a step back, get a different perspective. That's all it takes sometimes. Just remove yourself from the dating game, get a different perspective on it, and you might come to new understandings.
Yeah.
You might come to new ways of seeing the battlefield, is what Jocko was talking about. You know, he's a Navy SEAL guy. And he had to do that in wartime, where they'd be in a firefight. And when you're in that firefight, you're so locked in and you're so blinders on that it's not easy to make a call. You're just kind of stuck in that firefight. You don't know where to move your men next. So you have to, as the commander, take a step back, get a different vantage point, stand up, crouch, move over to the left or to the right to just see the whole situation in a different way.
Right.
And now you can make a call. And I think it's the same thing sometimes in scenarios like this, where we don't know how to approach women. We're just so unsuccessful at it that we either give up, we get angry, or we make new perspectives that are not based in fact or truth to justify why these things are happening. I would suggest that men take a step back, find a new vantage point, find a new way to look at the situation so that you can make a new call.
Yeah.
That potentially will be the right one.
Right.
So
I like that. Question 2. Why do you think that women are unapproachable? And why is this a problem now more than the past? And that's assuming that you think women are unapproachable.
Sure.
But this is a question that I think people are having.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think that women are more unapproachable than in the past. And I think because in the past you were raised in specific ways that you could call conservative or you can call traditional. And it instilled a common perspective among both men and women.
Yeah.
So you were, like we just discussed about perspective, how we're not doing enough to find common ground between us by knowing more about the other perspective and vice versa. Yeah. There was a common ground in the past already established that I don't think is there anymore.
That's true.
Between single parent households, between a breakdown of just the nuclear family in general, a continued decline in our education system, cultural perspectives changing, and
major.
I would say negative perspectives rising in the kind of lexicon of youth culture.
Yeah.
That has informed new negative perspectives that we as young adults are coming into relationships and coming into approaching potential relationships now from a very bad place.
Yeah, I think it makes it difficult because young women are taught from what they see and hear in the culture that a certain way of being is attractive, which I think is actually unattractive to a lot of men. And so I think that's part of the problem. It gets confusing for men and women, though, as they're like, this is how I'm supposed to be. This is what a strong, attractive woman is supposed to be.
What do you think some of those traits are?
Well, first of all, we'll just go with like visual attraction, which probably is attractive to men. But that kind of less clothes is better, idea, which then also gets women in a lot of other traps that they probably don't want to be in. But we're not going to go down that road. So that's just the physical part. But I think also the culture is telling young women to be strong and that you can, like, your man should not tell you what to do. Like, he shouldn't, like, buy your meal. He shouldn't do anything that would say you're weak, because you're not weak. You're very strong. And so, and I also want to go back and say, like, I think some of the things that some of the ways the culture has changed is good. Like, I think that women maybe way in the past were not assertive enough with what they want and how they should be treated because they were told, don't do that. So I think it's good that women are strong and can say, I should be treated this way, but it shouldn't go to the point where we're saying you are almost less than me and you shouldn't like almost have any opinions on how I am. Like what I say is what I say and you really don't have any opinion against it. Like I feel like it's gone to that extreme, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where women are like, I'm strong and you better not like go against me in any way. Does that make sense?
Sure. The pendulum has swung in the other direction.
Whereas men are almost like less than women and they need to stay there. And I don't think women like think that way. Actually, I don't think they realize they're thinking that way, but that's really what we've been taught through the things you hear in music and in movies and shows. And it kind of shows that like that is a strong woman. And I think women think that that's attractive when I don't think that is. And then we've kind of like poo-pooed on like the woman who cares for her children and takes care of the house and cares for her husband and his needs and making him food. Like that's almost like, oh, that's a woman of the past. Like you don't want to be that. Don't be that. But I think some men are looking for that. And not to say that you should not have any dreams and just be like, oh, I'm not going to take care of myself anymore. And I'm just going to be in the kitchen barefoot. And like, not that you don't have to care about yourself and have dreams, but you should care about the other person equally as yourself. And I think we've lost that. Women have been taught that that's not how you should be anymore. And so it makes them elevate themselves over men without them even realizing it. I don't think they realize they're doing that. And so men are kind of a lesser human, are treated as a lesser human. And a woman actually doesn't want that either in the long run. Yeah. She wants a man who's going to protect her and love her and provide for her. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you wrapped it up beautifully because that's the knowledge or understanding that we are lacking on both sides of the sexes is the correct perspective of what will actually fulfill us in a relationship. Mm-hmm. We have a list of desires. We have expectations. Are they informed? Meaning, can we look at the past to successful relationships and what constituted the success in them?
Yeah.
And what you will find, because we have research, because we have scientific studies of what constitutes a successful relationship, you will find common operations within relationships. You will find common things like protect, provide, that will come up in these studies. And on the male front, there will be things about a woman that they desire. And it's interesting to me, just from my kind of little bit of knowledge of seeing the kind of rise of the red pill community, which is a lot of men that are just kind of disenfranchised and have a very reductionist, I think in answer to the reductionist feeling that they have experienced from women in this culture. I think they have a response to that, a reductionist view of women, that they want women to be in the home and they want women to bow to their wishes and desires and dreams. And so there's unhealth on both sides of that. From the women not actually getting what they desire in relationships. I can't tell you how many celebrity women that I see and the perspectives that they deliver because of their struggles with relationship. And it's just very interesting to me that there just doesn't seem to be a time in which a light bulb ever goes off. And I don't know if that's because they're in echo chambers, that they're just not experiencing other perspectives and other people having conversations about relationships that help them to have a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing to me with the repetitiveness of these unsuccessful relationships that I see on the internet, and the same type of complaints and the same type of regrets and the same type of endings in those relationships should speak to the mistake that we are having as a culture.
But it's hard to see that mistake when you don't have healthy examples. I think that's one of the biggest problems is you can be stuck in a problem, but you are not going to figure out the solution without seeing it done by somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at least I find that for myself. Like I can easily get caught up in whatever issue it is. And I'm like, how do I deal with this problem? And I keep trying new ways that don't work.
Yeah.
And it's usually once I see someone do it right. And I'm like, oh, that looked like that worked well.
Yeah.
That's better than what I've been trying. Why don't I give that a try? I think that a lot of people just don't have good examples around them, and they might hear about success, but if they haven't seen it, it's not close to them.
It'll just elude them. Yeah. It's elusive in that way. Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about just the way in which going back to understanding what makes a man tick and what makes a woman tick at base levels, like not specific to their personalities or specific to their desires, expressed or unexpressed, but base level desires of biological women and base level desires of biological men that are very cut and dry, 90% of the time correct. Having a good understanding of that could be so helpful in our relationships. And just having that in mind as we relate or communicate with someone of the opposite sex, it would just be so helpful.
Well, what would you say then it is that make men tick, or that what are they looking for that they're not finding in women that make it hard for them to approach them?
They're not finding admiration. I really think there's something to see. Admiration is such a funny thing because it's so beautiful when done correctly, but I understand how it's been captured by the red pill community that just want women to oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And oh, all my finances are from you and all my success is from you. And oh, wow, you're so great. That's not admiration. Admiration is a day-to-day respect in that person's ability to protect you, to provide for you, and to serve you. Where that's what you admire about them. Wow, I can't wait for you to figure out this issue that you're having at work because I know you'll be able to do it.
They believe in
You're
the
so
person.
smart. You're so courageous. You're so strong. You're so all of these things that just fill up a man's love tank. I really feel like that is one of those things that women are averse to.
Because the culture has told them that you need to do it for yourself.
Right. When that was always the job of the other person in the relationship to do for you.
Yeah.
You can't love yourself to a point where it won't ever compare to the admiration you'd receive from someone else.
Yeah.
That goes way beyond anything that you could instill in yourself through some daily practice of self-improvement or some daily practice of self-love. It can help. You definitely should love yourself. But because you can't love others if you can't love yourself.
Yeah.
But that admiration is there for it to be done within the context of a partnership, where we're there for each other's best interests, best good. Yeah.
And I think admiration that reveals itself through trusting the man, that's how you can tell that it's admiration when it like leads to trust.
Yeah.
Like the other example you gave was kind of almost like this fake worshipfulness.
Yeah.
But an admiration that is revealed through trust says, I admire you and I believe in you, and so I trust you.
Yeah.
And I think that is very valuable.
Yeah, it's very valuable. Very valuable. I lost what I was going to say. I had something in my mind that kind of went along with what you were saying there with admiration and respect and trust and all of those things. They just go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They really do. That's all right. It'll come to me.
Okay.
It'll come to me.
What can women do to become more approachable?
I think women will be more approachable when they get better at approaching.
Like approaching the man?
No, not in that specific sense. But there is something that right now, and I've seen it in women younger than me, where they are unapproachable in their personality. It's like built into them now through the culture, through believing in what the culture says. That just makes them unapproachable.
Yeah.
And women need to do a better job at becoming a person with a personality that is more approachable. I think guys will approach women more if women are more approachable. I know that sounds like I flipped it on its head and very simplistic, but I truly believe that a lot of men just aren't approaching women because they're unapproachable.
What are they doing that's causing, what is it they need to stop doing so that men will feel safe to talk to them?
Be someone that wants to talk to to the men.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not communicating this well. But there are just women who are able to enter into conversations with men without an aura of, I'm better than you.
Right.
Without an aura of, what do you want?
Yeah.
That is just pervasive. Yeah, even people that I know and am friends with, women, I just, there's something about how they speak and how they present themselves that is just not attractive.
Right.
And make them someone that, if I wasn't already friends with them and had to be in proximity to them, I really wouldn't approach them.
Yeah. So the key is whatever assumptions they have of men, if they're negative, they need to drop it.
Yeah.
and stop assuming that they're better than men.
Yeah.
And get themselves on the same playing field so that they can talk to men in a respectful way.
I think if we stopped assuming, like you said, so many things about men in our day-to-day conversations with them, one, the world would be a merrier place.
That's true.
And also, men would approach more women.
Yeah.
I've seen there's a lot of social media kind of people that, do approaching women things where they'll use a pickup line or they'll do something to try and start a conversation with a woman. And the ones that go the most viral and the ones that the comments are most positive are the ones where the woman seems very loose and able to play.
Yeah.
Where she doesn't seem caught off guard. She doesn't seem taken aback by the approach.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, cool, let's play.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson has talked about that a lot when it comes to relationships and marriage.
Yeah.
That there needs to be a spirit of play that exists in the dance that we call relationship and that we call marriage and that we call dating, where we're able to dance around each other in a way that assumes positive ambition and positive motive from the other person. And we can just ask questions and we can have conversations and we can do activities and we can all of these things in a spirit of play.
Yeah, I like that. And I think to give like practical advice to be able to do that, because as you're saying it, I'm like, I'm one of those people that even I'm married, so thankfully I don't have to worry about it too much. But like, if any guy approaches me, I'm already like, what does this person want? I think it's a Berks County thing, but I'm like, what does this person want? I'm already like up in like, I might not look like that, but I'm already like up in arms. I'm like, I'm ready.
Trust me, you look like it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I look like it too. But I think what would be helpful is if you're just aware that if you can become aware that you're like that, when somebody approaches you, you can say, as soon as you feel your body tense up, you can be like, okay, why am I tensed up? And do I have to be?
Yeah.
Does this person have like a weapon on them? Like, do I have to be tensed up? And if you realize that you're tense, then you can just kind of take a breath and be like, I'm not going to assume any negative intent of this person. And what they said is what they meant until I find out further or there's evidence for that.
Right.
And I'm just going to have this conversation then.
Right. This is not negating situational awareness.
Right. You still want to have that.
You need to know what time of day it is. You need to know where you're at. You need to know what type of people are coming up to you.
Right.
Very important.
But I think that that's helpful. It's been helpful for me in not the dating scenario, but in other scenarios where I find myself all of a sudden like tense. And if I'm able to become aware of that, I'm able to say, well, whatever it is that they said, why am I already assuming this negative thing? And then I can say, let me just take it at their word.
Yeah.
And then it helps me be able to move forward more loosely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the question again?
What can women do to become more approachable?
Okay.
Yeah. So and I think we answered this already, but what are men looking for in women?
I think, we already answered this.
Yeah.
I think admiration is a major one.
Admiration.
Yeah.
What kind of work should women be doing to become the kind of women that a man would want to spend the rest of their lives with?
Studying men. Instead of women's studies, study men.
Yeah.
Also be honest with yourself. What do you want? Do you want a woman? Or do you want a man?
Yeah.
And you need to be honest about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think some women have lied to themselves. And they believe that they want a woman in a relationship. They might not call it that.
Like a girly man.
Right. They might, you said it, not me. They think they want a man who is able to feel like them and emote like them and navigate life like them. One, that will leave you very unaware in certain situations that will come up in your relationship and or marriage that a man is most suited to address or most suited to take on in the relationship.
Yeah.
If they are not a man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think a lot of women are just not honest with themselves on who they want. Or they have dual perspectives on what they want, which can exist simultaneously. You can't have a man who's a woman. And I was just saying tell me what you think of this. I was just saying to another woman that I was speaking to about their relationship, or her relationship with her husband. A lot of times women want their man to be like a woman so that they can control them. Because no man can be a woman as good as a woman can be a woman. So if you've made your man into a woman, you're still going to be better than them because you are one. And I think that gives you the upper hand to be able to control them in the relationship. Also, you emasculated them. And honestly, there's going to be a lot of resentment there. So you have to be careful of that. But they're just going to be whipped. I think
that that's true. And I think it's true that women in that situation have gotten to that place because they feel safer controlling their husband than letting their husband be who they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I think the other problem is that a lot of women don't have a good example of what a man should be. They have what culture has said a man is, and that's bad, and it is a lot of times, right? Somebody who just wants to womanize people, and this kind of picture of a man that they've made that is kind of barbaric, right? But that's not actually the picture of what men are. Men can be, what a good man is somebody who is strong and does lay down their foot for the protection of their wife and family. A man who can withstand whatever comes at him that's ugly and evil and yucky for the purpose of protecting his wife and his children.
Yeah.
Right? You want that in a man.
One thing that I think might help women get there, and this takes a little bit of faith, I think that is instilled, not perfectly, but in its basic form, instilled in every man to be the man that does all of those things.
Like the protector and provider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lead.
Yeah.
But that can only come out of them when you relinquish control.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard.
It's also the reason that you're stepping on each other's feet.
Yeah, it's true.
I think the best example that I can give of this is dancing. In dancing, the woman has to relinquish control completely to be effective in the dance.
Yeah.
That man has to have complete control of each movement that they go from, especially in the more fluid, unrehearsed dancing, because that man has to be able to guide your back and to be able to lead your arm and to be able to guide you to that next step so that you're not stepping on each other in that routine.
Yeah.
And when it's done, it's so gorgeous. It's so seamless. It's so just, there's flow.
Yeah.
But you have to give up control completely.
Yeah.
Anytime a woman takes back a little bit of control in a dance, it ruins the entire thing.
Yeah. You're fighting each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it goes both ways for sure. There needs to be a relinquishing of control in certain areas of the men to women to allow them to be the woman that the man actually desires them to be.
Yeah. It's both sides.
Yeah. But that comes back to what you said with trust.
Yeah.
Trust is a relinquishing of control.
Yeah.
If I trust that my car is going to work, I'm relinquishing control of all the components firing on my watch.
Yeah.
I'm just trusting that it's going to get me from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I'm not making sure everything is going according to car plan.
Stop, see if the brakes worked.
Yeah. No, I'm just trusting.
Yeah.
So I've relinquished control. And it's so helpful to do that in relationships. So I think if women could do that more in a healthy way, in a situational aware way, they will see men come out in the relationship.
I agree.
They will see the best qualities that you actually desire in men come out in the relationship.
And then you'll receive back probably what you've been wanting.
Probably.
That love from your husband or the person you're dating, because they can see that you actually trust them, and that means so much to them.
And they're allowed to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something just so simple about you not trying to make them anything other than what they are.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So helpful. So helpful.
Yeah. And then one more thing I would add to that, I think it is helpful though. I'm not really sure how you would even do this, but find a couple or somebody online that actually has a good relationship and learn from them so that you can, as a woman, release control, but also know this is how a man should treat me. I think that's important too. I think that's where the confusion comes sometimes, because I don't think women know how they should be treated. And so in that unknowing and fear of the bad, they try to control.
Yeah. So you need to look for somebody with a good track record, because there's a lot of people giving relationship advice that don't have successful relationships. Yeah. There's a lot of people that give red pill perspective on the male side, and a lot of women who give feminist first, agenda first perspectives on the other side. And there's nothing wrong with feminism in its truest sense. But when a person that is of that persuasion that doesn't have any success in their relationships to also show with their perspective, you need to be wary of that.
Right.
And you need to look for somebody, like you said, who has had success. And that might be out of your political persuasion, that might be out of your religious persuasion, that might be out of a lot of bounds that you have not explored yet personally. But if you're looking for someone online to follow, you're going to have to dig
in research.
Yeah, you're going to really have to look for it.
Yeah.
And know that you're just looking for success.
Yeah.
That's your metric. How long have you been together? Do you like each other still?
Right.
Good. Okay, you do? All right. I can follow you.
Yeah.
And that's really it. I still like the person after X amount of time.
Yeah.
Cool. How?
Yeah, how'd you do
that? If you can find that person, great. And if you can do it in real life and not on the internet,
that's better.
Better.
Yeah, much better. Last one. What advice would you give to guys looking to find someone worth dating?
Say it again.
What advice would you give to guys looking to find someone worth dating?
I think I would say, what do you define as worth? And actually know in your heart of hearts what that is. What do you mean by worth? She's got a great butt? I don't think we go through the process of thinking these things through. So I would say for any guy looking to see if a woman is worth dating, they need to know what worth means.
Yeah.
Not what they think worth means, because your worth is jaded by culture and it's jaded by perspective that you've gained through maybe your family, your upbringing. You need to know what worth means so that you can correctly identify it when it exists in a woman.
Yeah.
So do some soul searching and do some research and get some more education on what that could look like in a woman. And it will help you when it is presented in front of you to identify it. So that would be my first advice, is know what worth means.
Yeah.
So that you can identify it when it exists. Another thing that I would say when looking for a woman that is worth dating, find someone that wants to date.
That's helpful.
There's a lot of women that are unsure of their desire to date. They kind of want a relationship and are kind of unsure. That just means they're unsure. You're not kind of anything in your mind. We think we can split our minds well. We can multitask. Prove it. It's been proven many times. We can't. We stink at it. We usually are more linear in our thinking than we like to believe.
Yeah.
So if a woman is unsure that she wants to date, don't date her. Don't date her. She needs to be sure about her desire for that to ever be successful.
Yeah.
And for her to be worth dating.
Yeah.
She's not worth it if she's unsure. She's not worth it if she's sitting on the fence on her desires for relationship.
Right.
So even if she's hot, even if she is someone that, man, I'm just so attracted to her, but she's unsure if she wants it right now at this point in time, don't date her.
Yeah.
It's not worth your time and it's not worth hers.
Right.
So that would be my second piece of advice. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say that for now.
That's good.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure that you subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure that you give us a review if you're on iTunes. That would be amazing. I haven't been to iTunes in a while, but I know it's a cool place. So give us a review if you're on iTunes. Follow us on Spotify so that you know when a new episode comes out. We love you all. We'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.